Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This evening I'm going to be doing yet another movie review for you all. This movie is a thriller from South Korea, Korean language English subs, released in the year 2017, directed by Hong Soon Kim, and this film is called The Chase. So The Chase is about a landlord. He's elderly, he's very, very cranky, and he is going around demanding that tenants pay their rent, even though the tenants are facing very hard circumstances. And so they're down and out in their life, but this landlord has no sympathy. So he's not a very popular man, but he goes around and this is what he does on a daily basis, but then we realise he's a very lonely man and that he just wants someone that he can connect to. But then one day something strange happens that causes this man to suspect a serial killer's on the loose. Now he is starting to investigate because the police don't seem to have any leads, so he takes it upon himself to try and find out what's going on, but then he realises that whatever going on now actually dates back to 30 years ago when a serial killer was going on a rampage and he was never caught. And so now he believes that the serial killer is in present day and it's up to him to stop him. So whether or not he can is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on The Chase. This is a little known South Korean film. So when you think of South Korean cinema, you think of Old Boy, I Saw the Devil, Bittersweet Life, The Wailing, all those movies that are top tier South Korea, and that's really set the standards. And so that's definitely a very high level to live up to. And so coming into these sorts of movies, you have to give a little bit of consideration for the fact that they are under the radar and they're lesser known. And so having that pedestal that these really good filmmakers have set for this country, I have to make allowances for movies that I hadn't really seen or heard of. And so The Chase is definitely one of those movies. When I saw the trailer, I thought it looked very interesting, and what was this going to produce? This is a serial killer film, but it is actually a different sort of serial killer film, and so that's something that I can give the movie credit for, but it goes nowhere near the top tier of South Korean experiences, unfortunately. There were moments that I really didn't like that prevented me from enjoying this movie as much as I actually could have, and that's something that I'll go into a little bit later. But what I liked about this movie, it is very quirky, it is very lighthearted, it is a movie about trying to track down a serial killer, but it's not like the movie The Chaser by Hong Ji-na that was really depressing, really frenetic, very disturbing. This movie doesn't have that sort of disturbing quality to it. Yes, it is violent, but that light-hearted nature to this movie almost comes across as a comedy. Although it's not billed as a thriller/comedy, the light-hearted approach to this movie just gives you the whodunit sort of aspect. You know, the whodunit films that are, you know, sort of like the Agatha Christie types, movies that aren't trying to disturb you but trying to hit you on a curiosity level through the mystery behind everything. And so the mystery to this movie actually works in a way that it maintains your interest. You want to see who the killer is, although it does become quite predictable in parts. There were other parts where I thought to myself, where is this director taking me? And for that, I have to give the movie credit. It does last out right until the end, and it never feels as though it outstays its welcome. So the cinematography, it's very impressive. I thought the acting was fairly impressive. I thought the script works fairly well for what it is. As I said, it's not a serious film. It's not a movie that's going out there to win Oscars. It's a movie that wants to entertain an audience. So for the most part, I thought the entertainment was there. The acting was fairly decent. I thought the landlord, he was very cranky, very, nasty, grumpy, miserable. But he was miserable for reasons that the movie kind of goes into. It doesn't really distract itself with unnecessary side plots, but it gives you enough into this character to realise that he is the way he is because of things that have happened. But as I said, it doesn't derail itself by going into unnecessary melodrama. It just gives you a little bit of an insight into this man. So as he starts to investigate, puts the pieces together, this is unfortunately where the problem starts to lie. This movie is way too convenient for its own good, and it felt very lazy. So when the mystery starts to unfold, clues are given to this main character in a way that I thought was just way too convenient, very, very easy. So you got great movies like The Chaser, where they have to piece together everything and everything comes through naturally, whereas this movie, it's just all too easy for them to piece together what's going on, and that therefore brings a little bit of predictability. So it does eliminate a lot of the suspense, but it's that light-hearted approach that the movie has, the tone that the movie has, where the really easy sort of clues that are fed to them, it just adds to that quirkiness. And so, as I said, it's a light-hearted sort of film, and it gives you the light-hearted detective work that, as I said, is all too convenient for its own good. And so I really didn't like that aspect. I thought as though some of the music in this movie, the tonal sort of shifts, were very uneven, they were very disjointed, and that's something I really didn't like. And so the movie will go from fun and laughter to something really, really violent, then back into fun and laughter, quirky. And so you've got really disturbing disturbing moment, then a really happy moment, and it just doesn't feel as though it's consistent. So it just comes across as a little bit of a mess at the end, and it's a movie that, as I said, it's not top tier South Korean, but having said that, it's not a terrible film. There are moments that are very likeable, but unfortunately, I just felt as though it was very lazy in the procedural sort of aspect of this movie, and that, to me, is what was the greatest letdown, because that generic sort of all too easy procedural element to the movie does create a bit of predictability, and in the end does affect the enjoyment to some level. But pushing that aside, it's not a terrible film, it's not a waste of time. Go out there and see it. I'm going to give this movie 2.5 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.